Okay, we're live.
I make cookies at Christmas, but she was going to Mexico, so she wouldn't be back till a certain time. And I sent her cookies. Well, she sent me a box of booze, thanking me for. She said the cookies are good. Here, I'm sending you something from. And I'm thinking like, yeah.
Welcome everybody.
Hello, bye, see ya.
We're live now, and you're
I
leaving.
don't care. I'm getting something to drink.
Did Bud just quit?
Yeah,
Am I
he
here
just
by
walked
myself?
off. Oh, we got John's kid
Hello,
with us.
welcome to SippinTrip.
Hey, John. Deborah Stevens is with us. We're seeing you tomorrow night.
Yeah, I got to remember to bring her.
Debbie Schumann's with us.
That's the one they gave.
Hi, Debbie.
Welcome, you guys.
That's
Hi.
what they gave. One of the
I was
things
gonna ask.
from here. You can try that one. It's really good. It's
Thank
hoppy.
you. Thank
It's
you.
It's 7 point some
It's gonna be
percent
a fun
alcohol.
evening.
Oh, good.
So it'll give you a little more kick. But
got
it's from
real.
at their place in up by
Hello.
Thunder Bay. So
You're drinking summer shandy today. That's Ronald Reagan.
hoping that it gets
Sue
freaking warm
Becker.
out. Which camera you got us on?
You're on the main one right
Okay.
there. I got both of you. I don't have the show going, so we're just talking.
Oh, so
People are saying hello.
Did you do the introduction?
Oh yeah, that's all done.
So
we're
now-
we're past you, bud.
Oh, okay. So I
Hi,
can
Linda.
talk about.
Oh, she's ready. She's got baseball emojis.
So one of the things that happened this week on a few different occasions, I'm going to talk about before we get into the baseball,
Oh, yeah.
is this is our 25th year, and some of the, I got to see Mary and Larry today that I've dealt with for 25 years at the business and that. And one of the things what I'm trying to say is that, we cultivate plants, but also through horticulture, we cultivate friendships. Gardening is a great way to connect with people and to cultivate friendships. And when I was in college, the Illinois State Florist Association had a scholarship, and I was in the finals for it. And I was interviewed, and one of the questions was, what did you like about horticulture? And I answered, the people. So, it's the people. It's the friendships that we've cultivated for 25 years that really make everything great.
You make it easy,
guys.
though.
Like you guys.
You walk down the block and you make 4 friends.
I know. I'm easy.
Oh, Scott says the guys did a great job over here today, Bud and Lisa, in between the hailstorms.
Hailstorm? What
Did
the
it
hell are
hail?
you talking about, Scott?
Did it hail here?
I guess.
Well,
must
it was
have.
like sleety,
It
crystal.
did in Dixon for a little
Did
bit.
it? Yeah, a little bit
Not-
here
yeah.
too.
I was doing
was weird.
paperwork. Just like yesterday, I was doing paperwork, and then I came outside when Quinn and Ray's come home, and I was like, holy shit, the wind is just unbelievable.
Well, who were you said that you met up with some friends?
Yeah,
Because I know you guys, what did you say, 25 years or
yeah.
something?
From
Yeah.
the first time we opened the doors, they've been
Yeah.
they've been to our place.
Well, you've been a good friend of my family, and Lisa, thank you so much.
And Greg Brooks,
Oh, it's
our
a pleasure.
mutual
And Greg.
friend, he was
that's-
there from the inception of Distinctive Gardens.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it all comes
Yep.
together, and that's what means the most to me.
Yep.
It's been fun.
As Kirk said, it's been real and it's been fun. It's been real fun. So, we're gonna talk. I'm not doing shit but drinking. I'm drinking Liney's tonight.
Sit back and out. Yeah.
And Mark's gonna do all the stuff about these. But this is really cool. I went through the slide presentation here that Mark sent Lisa, and then Lisa put it on here, and it's really cool. I know some of the names and stuff like that, and that, but I don't know hardly any of them.
Well, you knew I was a Packer fan, because that's one way that you and I kind of got connected too, was just being super passionate Packer fans.
Sure.
But really, where my heart, ever since I was just a little teeny dude, was in baseball. And it of course, you said you went to Wrigley Field. You were a Cub fan.
Yep.
That's how it all started for me. I guess I was 7 or 8. Went to a game in 1979, but then the next year, I went to. My favorite player was Dave Kingman. Do you remember him?
No.
He could hit He could hit the ball like 3 miles, but he'd strike out. Every other at bat. Well, he was my hero, and my neighbor Barry Royster from Dixon. He was a barber there. He took me and my friend to another game, and he took us on Dave Kingman Day. And Dave wasn't even there. I found this out years later. I was standing around the dugout. Where's Dave? Where's Dave? He was on the DL. He was that kind of, I don't know what to say. He was fishing on Lake Michigan.
It's funny you say, where's Dave? And
Dave's not here.
Did you see, Mark, I'm not kidding you. I had a phone call last week. Somebody calls and goes, I go, Distinctive Gardens, is Dave there? And I go, no, you got the wrong number. There's no Dave there. So then I posted Cheech and Chong's note. Hey, Dave. No, Dave's not here. Oh, it's me, Dave. Open the door. Dave's not here.
That's why maybe at the time, because it didn't make any sense. Dave's not here, but maybe they were just messing with me. Dave's not here.
I couldn't believe that guy called on the phone. Dave, I go, Dave's not. There's no Dave here. I said there's no Dave here, and then I immediately thought like, damn, I missed the opportunity. He says, no, Dave's not here.
Oh, you know what? My grandson's one of his favorite songs is Basketball Jones.
Oh God. Sister Mary Elephant. I can relate to that from Newman.
Well, here we go.
All right, let's get to the baseball.
You just tell me when you want to start your show.
Okay.
Well,
ladies and gentlemen. No, that's right. I was talking about Dave Kingman, right?
Right. It's top of the first.
No, that guy was a hero of mine. And I ended up, I was from Dixon. I'm going to come back, and I want to introduce you to all the Major League Baseball players that I know of that are from this area. So Lee, Ogle, Whiteside, and Carroll, right?
Sure.
So all the baseball players. It was about, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, but I got so interested in this topic that I researched it because, like, when I was little, Dave Kingman was my hero, but these guys here, the guys that actually came from the area
sure.
Where I grew
and there's
up.
a lot more than I ever knew after.
Oh, I know.
Years.
Me too, and that's what got me interested. So I researched, and then I haven't done this presentation in probably 10 years. So I really just want to go through and introduce you to a bunch of different, I know that you're going to learn something, and I know that you all are too, and I know you got a lot of baseball fans out there. So it's going to be fun to hear the comments and everything.
I'll pipe in if I get something that you want.
But then after that, I want to tell you, because I feel like being a baseball fan at heart ever since I was that young, the experiences that I've had being around the game, I'm going to tell you a couple stories. Some of them are amazing stories. Some of them are so dumb that I got to tell you about it too.
Okay.
But, okay, so the first baseball player I'm going to introduce you to.
Okay, you want me to start running it? It's like slide one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can do it.
Okay. I'll motion to you. This is Albert Spalding. He was born in Byron, and of all the people in the history of the game, this is one of the coolest things. You recognize the name Spalding.
Sure.
He started the Sporting Goods Company.
Really? Oh, the Spalding
That's
baseball?
the guy.
Oh,
Wow, that's awesome.
He was born in Byron. Well, what happened, and 1871, or, when this guy played 1871, that's the first year of Major League Baseball, when they started to keep records,
Sure.
and they said, okay, these are professionals, they're getting, paid or whatever. This is the beginning of that era. They started to keep statistics, and everything. This guy was so good, he went to Rockford. He was the best pitcher in the league that the barnstorming teams came through from Boston and offered him a ton of money to go back to Boston and play baseball. He was there for 5 years. He won 200 games. That's back when they'd pitch every other day or something. He was such a superstar. He ended up coming back here, and I think that he had dollar bills on his mind, because he came up with the idea to produce the first rules guide So you used to be able to go to the store and for a dime you could buy like the Spalding baseball rules and the Spalding
So like if you're
baseball.
playing baseball in your sandlot, and these are the rules you play.
That's
by
correct.
a Spalding rule, just like Robert's Rule of Order at a meeting.
That's correct.
Oh, cool. Okay.
He was the dude that did that. So a lot of the rules and everything, the influence that he had on the league
Wow, that's amazing. And he's from around here.
from Byron.
Wow.
He,
So is that Boston Red Sox? Were they the Red Sox then?
That's what they were, the Red Stockings at the time.
Red
sure.
Stockings. Okay.
And then you see that Chicago NL.
Yeah.
He was the president of that league. So he wasn't just playing. He was the president of that.
Wow.
In 1876, it was the National League. That's when it started. This is the National Association. The thing he didn't like about it was the rowdies at the game. You know, the ones that went there to just get drunk and gamble.
That still happens. They just get
Yeah.
drunk. They might not bet, but they get drunk.
Well, he didn't want to play baseball on Sundays either. So they were instrumental in starting the NL. At the time, they were Chicago White Stockings. Over time, they became the Chicago Cubs. Well, he was the first president of that Chicago Cubs team. But he started in Rockford. And I'm going to come back to this because this is another interesting thing. Rockford had a Major League Baseball team
Wow.
for 1 year, that 1871, the very first year. But I'm going to come back to it because the next couple players are from that league, and we'll talk to why it didn't last.
Okay. Right. I'll go to the next one. Oh, there's.
Well,
his house.
there is his house in Byron. And if you're ever in Byron, and you go to where the Civil War monument is right in the middle of the intersection, one of those corners is this house. It's a log cabin that was covered with siding. He was born in this house.
Wow.
That's it. That's him. He
Hall
is
of
a Hall of Famer.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. And the family plot.
Yeah, that's his family. Hold on one second. You're going too fast.
Yeah.
That's just a freaking bench with his name on it. I'm gonna drink.
Cheers. Here's to Albert Spalding. This is-
You, Albert, you son of a bitch! You wouldn't play on Sunday.
Well, okay, so that's Albert.
Okay.
I know that's something you didn't know, right?
No, not at all.
See,
but
that's
the
what I
last
love
name
about this.
Spalding, I'm going like, well, yeah, baseball.
That's what I love about this topic. Okay, next one is
This
really
one's Sterling, Illinois.
Yes, this guy played in that same 1871 in Cleveland. So when baseball first started and they had professional baseball, I have no idea what this guy was doing in Cleveland, but he was born in a cabin over here in Fulton. So his family was real pioneers, 1844.
Wow.
He was a Civil War veteran. Somehow he went on and he ended up on that Cleveland team for 1 year or whatever, you
And
know.
he died in Sterling.
Yeah, he
And I
came
think
back
his
here.
grave- don't you have a picture of his? No, that's him there, isn't it?
See? I'll point to you when it's time.
Yeah, Bud, you're not driving the bus.
I'm just kidding.
I was just looking at his beard. I liked his beard. That was a real good picture of his beard. Look at that son of a bitch. I bet he didn't have. What's he got on the top of his head? Was he Jewish?
He was an attorney. So
Well, what's on
and
the
he
top
was
of his head though?
I don't know, is he?
Is that what do they call that? They wear
Yeah,
that?
yarmulke or
Yeah.
something. He probably was. Johnson's not a Jewish name though.
No, it isn't.
Well,
Well, I don't know. Renee, look at the top of his head's got so. It's
See.
either a bald spot or it's a freaking.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
he ended
There,
up.
okay, there.
Yeah, there we
There's-
go.
And that, you know where that, I know right where that's at. If that's in Sterling, it's probably over here at the mausoleum at the Riverside Cemetery.
You know, when I was first studying and trying to find all these baseball players, find as much as I could, I had seen in the baseball records that this dude was buried in Sterling, you know, and everything. So I was contacting the cemetery. They're like, "No, I don't think that he's here." Well, they called me back and they're like, "Wait a second, I think he might be in the mausoleum here." The mausoleum's kept separate.
Sure.
The records are kept
Oh,
separate.
really?
Yeah. So I went over there and we're looking, and I'm in the mausoleum looking for him, and nope. And according to the map, I was like, nope. So I thought maybe it was unmarked or something. And we went back up to the office and we just had that map. It was turned around upside down.
Oh.
We had it upside down.
Mary Carlson says they have a Jewish section at Riverside Cemetery.
This is in the mausoleum.
Oh, in the mausoleum.
That's where he's
But
buried.
I'm not sure, Mary, if it just looked like that.
It did look like it from that picture that he had a yarmulke on.
Right.
And I know so little about some of these people that I have to take clues like that and
Well, I just happened to see it. I didn't see it when I was looking at it earlier, but then I was like, wow, I don't even have my glasses on, and I saw it.
Cooperstown didn't even have a picture of this guy. They keep records on every single player. I found that picture back in, let's see, that one, back in the, I don't know, the Historical Society here in town helped me, I think.
Huh.
But he was an attorney, the minority leader of the House of Representatives in Springfield.
It's just his hair shining, Renee. I put my glasses on.
Okay.
But you know what's interesting about, you go and you're talking about the records at the thing, at the cemetery. I need to ask Lawrence Swartley if he ever took the book that they had at Swartley's. That freaking thing was old.
What's that?
The book for the cemetery where we could go find.
That one?
Well, no, it was about big. Kenny, when I used to go to the cemetery and have to put flowers on the graves, these were a list of like where the graves were at and stuff. But it was, Swartley's was over 100 years old. This book could have been back from Lauren's grandpa, and I wonder what he did with that. That would be a cool memento to have, because I carried those freaking iron urns and cement urns to every freaking name in that book when I was out of college.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, we got one of the urns right there.
This is cool back here too. Okay, the next dude is from Byron. Again, he was friends with Albert Spalding. He wanted to play for that first 1871 Rockford. They were called the Rockford Four Cities. This uniform that I have was made. This is the Rockford Four Cities uniform from 1871.
Wow.
You know the vintage baseball where you go out and these older guys.
Yeah.
They go out and they play by the rules of that particular era.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That's how I got this uniform. I did that for a little while. It was really fun. But this guy was part of that 1871 team. The reason that Rockford Four Cities Major League Baseball had to shut down was because the Chicago fire happened that year. So it cut off all the transportation for the rest of the teams that wanted to come to Rockford. So the sponsors couldn't afford it or anything.
Oh, wow, that sucks.
So Rockford
They could have had a team eventually. I mean, how do you pronounce his first name? Gate?
Well, it's Garrett, and that's what he went by apparently. Yeah, go ahead. That's his stone is up in Byron. Okay. It's got the
baseball bats.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, next one. This guy was also on that same team, but he's from Stillman Valley. It's over on the other side, kind of by Byron and that. And
bird's the word.
Go ahead, I'll show you a picture. This dude, I found this in the newspaper. This is him at the age of 80 at a 1932 Old Timers baseball game.
1932?
Yeah, and he was 80.
80? Mm-hmm. Holy shit, Batman. Oh.
Go ahead, that's his stone that's up there in Stillman Valley. He had a son that was killed in World War I that's buried in that same plot.
Wow.
Really interesting family history.
That's a big stone.
Mm-hmm. This is Fred Rote. All I could tell for a very long time was that there was a Fred Rote that was born in Oregon and he died in Oregon on those dates. And I didn't have any information, and I still really don't have much. But I can tell you that he played for Pittsburgh in 1890. It was the Chicago Colts at the time, but they ended up becoming the Cubs in 1892. I looked around the whole cemetery there. Across the river from where the Blackhawk statue is on the north side of Oregon, there's a really big, beautiful cemetery there that has a hill right in the middle of it. I walked around that whole cemetery looking for this guy, and it was kind of just something. I could have gone and looked at the records, but it's nice to walk through there and just look. But I swear it was the last stone I looked at, and it was at the very top of the hill, and he's buried in the same plot that the Phelps family was, and they founded Oregon. Whoa. So there's something about.
Oh, did you get a pic? There it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Finally found it. I walked around for like 3 hours, and I swear.
My dad was only 2 years old. Your grandma was how old? She was 09?
3.
Excuse me.
1903? So she was 10.
No, she was 3.
She was 3.
Yeah.
Okay. 1910.
Okay. This guy, you see that 1899 Cleveland NL?
Yeah.
There? He played. That is the worst team in Major League Baseball history.
Oh, I thought the Cubs were.
Over a long period of time, the Cubs were. This team, they were called the Cleveland Spiders. And if you look at,
Spiders?
Yes.
Well, how did they get to the Indians from spiders?
because there was a dude named Louis Sokolakis that played for that team in the early teens, and he was a big fan favorite. So they started calling them the Indians.
Wow.
Just now we know, right?
Wow.
Well, this guy, I also couldn't find anything out about. All baseball records said that this dude was born May 1870 in Paw Paw, Illinois.
Oh. Where the pawpaw tree came from.
Okay.
That's true.
In Illinois?
Yes.
Because
Pawpaw.
not Paw Paw, Michigan?
No, pawpaw tree. That's where the tree is from.
Okay. I thought you were bullshitting me.
No, I'll have a drink on that, but I'm not.
Me too. Thank you. Well, go ahead, Juan, and this is pretty cool. Oh, this is that team, but right
These
before.
are the spiders now?
Yeah, but see, do you remember? Have you heard of Cy Young?
Yeah.
He was on this team, but then what happened was that St. Louis bought, back then a lot of shady things could go on, you know. So St. Louis bought the Cleveland team, they owned both of them. So they took all the shitty players and sent them to Cleveland, and they took all the superstars and sent them to St. Louis.
Cy Young.
Well, this guy, George Bristow, I still couldn't find anything out about him. He might have played under an alias just because that team was so shitty. You know, he didn't want to be known for playing for it. But go ahead, Juan. I found this picture in an old Lee County history, I think, book. Take a look at it.
Well, it's in Lee County. Pawpaw's in Lee County.
Yeah, but take a look down at the bottom. Paw Paw baseball team in about 1900. Do you see anybody in there that doesn't, like, fit in? How about the guy in the back row with the Cleveland jersey?
No. Oh my God.
I didn't notice that.
Do
till
you
said
think
it.
that might be him?
That could be.
I think it was. I have no idea,
And
but
you said he was trying to hide from the world's worst team. So
well, there were a lot of reasons why somebody would play under an alias back then. If they were contracted to one team and then they went and played in the major leagues, then they would lose their contract.
Right.
So there were a lot of reasons. But yeah, go ahead and we'll see what else we. Okay.
Davy Jones.
Davy Jones, not the guy from the Monkees either.
And not the guy from is it Davy Jones? Who is it? The New Christy Minstrels, where he was a train driver. Davy Jones.
Davy Jones, you better watch your speed.
Something. I think it's a New Christy Minstrels. The train driver's name was Davy Jones.
This one's fun too.
Look at all the freaking team. I mean, he was
Yes.
there a long time.
And the reason that I included him here is because he went to Dixon College. There was a college in Dixon up until the early teens, I think. No, late teens. But right around 1900 or so, I was. Historical research is funny because you find little clues and then you really got to run for it and see what else you can find. But I had been finding information that he played in Dixon, but I couldn't prove it. I had some friends over there, Greg Lang and a couple historian friends in Dixon that are really dear to me and been great to me. But he helped me to keep looking. But I thought that this guy played in Dixon. Go ahead one and I'll show you. These are some baseball cards that he's on. But go ahead one more.
What is that a Dixon one?
Detroit.
Oh, Detroit.
He was, okay, take a look at this one. So I knew that he probably played around 1900, right?
Yeah.
And I was looking and I couldn't identify anybody in that picture that really stood out because back then pictures, some of the stuff that I have of Davy Jones were actually paintings. Well, I was getting frustrated, but if you look see all those bat bags down at the bottom?
Yeah.
On one of them, very clearly it says DJ Jones, David Jefferson Jones. So, and I was about to give up and so I contacted his family. They have a bat company out in Colorado. And I talked to the guy and he says, oh yeah, that's him on the upper right.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's awesome. So he's right here.
That's him.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, go ahead one. That's him on the Dixon College football team. And he is right of center, kinda, in there. Go ahead, another one.
Football team. Wow.
Yeah, he was a real superstar. He played all those years with the Tigers in the same outfield as Ty Cobb.
Wow, that would be awesome.
He was the first union representative of Major League Baseball. He got a college degree for law and pharmacy. That probably sound is getting in there too much, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Cool.
You're good.
All right, this guy,
Frank, what is it?
Shaughnessy.
Shaughnessy.
This guy's from Amboy, and he has one of the most interesting careers that I'm going to introduce you to of all these baseball players today. He's from Amboy. He was born there. It was an Irish immigrant family that moved there because they were building the railroads.
Sure.
Right? He was a great athlete, but he went on to Notre Dame. He was the captain of the Notre Dame football team. Go ahead one there and see. That's him. He was a captain of the Notre Dame football team, and he was he was good at about everything. So go ahead another one. Oh, wait a second. Stop. No, just stay right there. I'll catch up. He went on and played Major League Baseball for 2 years, but that wasn't the sport that he really excelled at. He was traded for a Hall of Famer, Frank Home Run Baker at the time. But what he ended up being he met a girl from Canada. So he moved to Canada. He fell in love with Canada. He actually served in World War I with the Canadian military.
Wow.
But he took all of the experience that he had in sports, and he was a coach, a college football coach. Back then, when they were really just trying to design plays, and everything, he introduced the option play to college football.
Wow, awesome.
And
He looks like somebody off like 1940s movie
exactly,
scene.
that's what I thought too.
Movie scene, smoking a cigarette, standing there.
This is later in his career. He was the president of the International League, which was the premier minor league. So all the Major League Baseball players, a lot of them came through that league. As a matter of fact, he was the president of that league when Jackie Robinson came through.
Wow, really?
So he integrated the International League before Major League Baseball did. So this guy is also, as far as I'm concerned, just as important to the fact that Jackie Robinson broke that barrier back when he
had
did.
something on the radio today about it. I think it was back in history. It was either today or yesterday. I heard on the radio was the day he did it. When he was introduced to the thing, and they were interviewing. It was on NPR today. Matter of fact, it was, and they were talking to some other people that said about how he made. Jackie said that I'm going to make this easier for you, in the future for you kids, because this guy was a young kid at the time.
Jackie Robinson he stood up to a lot of bullshit. We all know that.
Yep.
He's a hero.
Yep.
And one of the reasons that he was able to play in the major leagues is because Mr. Frank Shaughnessy had, what did I say? Integrated? Was that the right word? No, like when they started to let African Americans into the major leagues, integrated or whatever. He did that in the International League.
Okay.
And if you look at, there was a movie where Jackie Robinson played himself. It's just called The Jackie Robinson Story.
Yeah.
And they had Branch Rickey was the one, the general manager that brought him up to the Dodgers, the Brooklyn Dodgers, so that he could play. And he was talking to Frank, and Frank in the movie, I thought that they kind of made it look like like he was against it. But I'll tell you, he was against it because at that time they thought that there would be riots all over the United States just because they allowed an African American to play Major League Baseball. It ended up not happening, thank God, but Frank, he had already integrated that league, So I thought that movie was a lot misleading.
Right. Well,
Really?
they said on the radio today, the first day that Jackie played, they all took off work. Everybody was glued, they said we all took off work. Everybody was watching, wanted to see or hear and listen to Jackie Robinson play. They were very...
Wish I could have seen it.
Oh, there's his family plot.
That's an Amboy. But yeah, his story is really, really cool. He's in the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame in Canada and the Football Hall of Fame in Canada.
Really?
He coached the Ottawa Senators to the first Stanley Cup.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? This guy did all that.
Wow.
All right. Did you go ahead one or did I mess up?
That's it. That's the next one.
Okay, Pete.
And that's
I don't know.
He's got a
a
B
whole-
on there,
That's-
but that's Cleveland.
That's Brooklyn. That was another team. He was in the minor leagues at the time, so it was a Brooklyn. That was the only picture I could find of him. It was 1907.
Hell, he looks old to be playing baseball.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah, I really don't know too much about this guy. I skipped ahead in my notes here, probably because I don't know much about him, I guess. But go ahead, Juan. There's his stone is over there in Rock Island is where he's buried.
Wow.
Okay.
This one's
This one's cool. This guy gave up. He's known in baseball history for he was a pitcher, but he gave up a home run, the first home run to Babe Ruth.
wow.
He's buried in Lanark.
Wow.
And-
And he's died in Freeport, so which
Yeah.
isn't far.
Well, he married a girl from Lanark, and that's why they're buried there. And that's how I was able to include it on this presentation. But I loved the fact that not a whole lot of people know that this guy is up there. And like I said, these guys are all history or heroes to me for playing this game that I couldn't. I was terrible.
Is the next one his stone? No, that's
No, those are just different pictures of him playing.
is that him there?
Yeah, that's
Which one?
in the W.
Okay.
God, he
They
looks old.
must have put W for their last name or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, because that would be his last.
If you go ahead,
And you said he was a pitcher?
Yeah.
There he's warming up in a bullpen.
that's what the New York Highlanders, which ended up becoming the Yankees, and he spent his whole career with the Yankees. But go ahead, one more. That's him later on talking to the Babe.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, a funny story about him. So I told you about the first home run, right?
Yeah.
A couple days later, because back then they pitched a lot against,
Yeah.
and Babe was a pitcher too, so they probably were pitching against each other, and they only pitched every few days. The second time he faced him, Babe came up and hit a home run, right? So the next time that Babe came up to bat, he intentionally walked him. So that heated up Babe a little bit. The next time he came up to bat, he intentionally walked him again. So the Babe went into the dugout. He was pissed off. He kicked the dugout. He busted his toe. He was out for 2 weeks. All right.
There's his stone.
There he is in Lanark, yeah. Now this guy here, Ward Miller, he's our Dixon guy. He's our Dixon tie to baseball history. And he played for some legendary teams.
Well, it's the St. Louis, and what's FL mean?
Federal League.
Wow.
We'll talk about that because in 1914 and 1915, they had a third league, which was designed to compete with the American League and National League. And they started, and he played for the St. Louis team. They were called the St. Louis Terriers. So for 2 leagues there, or for 2 years, there was a third league. He played on it. Do you know Wrigley Field,
Yep.
right? Was built for the Federal League. It wasn't built for the Cubs. Cubs moved in 2 years later. It was built for a team called the Chicago Terriers that were in the Federal League.
Wow. I see. I didn't know there was another league.
Yep.
I wondered when I saw that FL. That's
Yep.
interesting.
Go ahead. That's him
I
as a
got
rookie.
Stewart's got a question. He wants to know, he says, Mark, when were ball gloves introduced to the game?
I wondered about that earlier today, Stewart, and it was in the 1980s. And Stewart does a lot of reenacting too.
1980s.
1880s.
1880s.
Thank you. Because Stewart does a lot of reenacting, and everybody, we're all very particular about details, right? And so like when you go up to Midway Village up there, I know that
does stuff.
Stewart does a lot of stuff there. They have a vintage baseball team that I played on for a little bit. And I think that the rules that we played were 1881 rules, and we were still playing without gloves.
Oh, wow.
So that was about that time.
Wow.
But this guy was our Dixon hero. There's really no way. Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Wow.
That
1909.
that was him with the Pittsburgh Pirates when he was a rookie.
Wow. This is American Legion baseball team, Sterling. Wow.
1924.
Awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
Somehow he came over here and played. That's him third from right in the upper.
Yeah, right
row.
here.
Yep. Now, I got really lucky because as I started to do research and started to really get excited about this topic, I found out that he had a daughter in Dixon. Her name was Shirley Roundy. she became like just a very dear friend. We became very close. I knew her from the time she was 90 until she was 100. And she, I ended up inheriting a lot of really interesting things that belonged to him. But after his baseball days, he came back to Dixon and he was the Lee County Sheriff. He was the Lee County Treasurer. I inherited this. This is his sheriff badge from when he was a Lee County Sheriff.
Awesome. And it says his name on it, Ward T.
Yeah.
Miller.
Yep.
Wow.
I'm very proud. I feel, and I'm a descendant of him, really honestly, in my heart, because his daughter trusted me enough and knew that I loved the history, that I inherited a lot of photos, things that belonged to him. She had no descendants, and
Wow.
it was wonderful.
Well, that's great that you're able to have that and the history to it.
Yeah. I do want. He brought the Cubs to Dixon in 1912. They had an exhibition game in Dixon. As you can imagine, it was a huge deal.
Oh, I
Banks
bet.
closed, schools closed, everything. They had a game down on West First Street, just on the other side of the viaduct. That's where the ballpark was.
Yep.
After that, they went to Rosebrook. You know where Rosebrook
Yeah.
Studio is? I knew about Rosebrook Studio because as a historian, it used to be Rosebrook Hall. It was the place to go in Dixon back in the day.
Wow, awesome.
So, see, there were, back then, that particular team, the 1912 Chicago Cubs, was very famous because there were three legends on that team. Tinker, Evers, and Chance. Joe Tinker, Johnny Evers, and Frank Chance. Triple play combination, the most famous in history. The last game they ever played together on the same team was here in Dixon. It was an exhibition game, but it was the last time they ever played on the same team.
Wow.
So here in Dixon, or there in Dixon, we have some really interesting,
Is that him there?
yeah, that's 1913.
God, look at the stadium.
That's the West Side Ballpark. That's out by, you know where the hospitals are on the West
Yeah.
Side? That's where, and then the next year I told you about Wrigley Field. They moved into Wrigley in 1914 and renamed it. Now the next guy I'm excited about, that's that Dixon game right there.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
There's no way for me to emphasize enough how excited, oh, pause on that one for a second. How big of a deal it was for local legend Ward Miller, who was born in Mount Carroll, grew up in Dixon, worked at the shoe factory until
Sure.
he went on and played for the local heroes, the Chicago Cubs, and in 1914, see that Federal League?
I
right
was just
there?
going to say, I saw the Federal
That's
League
the
badge.
Federal League. He played for the St. Louis Terriers. This is opening day in 1914, the very first Major League Baseball game in Wrigley Field.
Oh, wow.
And they presented him with a bouquet of flowers because they were welcoming him back to Chicago.
Wow.
Can you imagine how proud the people of Dixon were at that time?
Oh,
bet.
God. That's awesome.
He's on a Cracker Jack baseball card. I've got all that here. Here it is. They're right there.
Awesome. That's interesting.
There he is with that Sterling American,
God,
What'd I say?
They play baseball when they're older, too.
Oh,
you think
yeah.
now, Mark, I was telling somebody today, when you're 35 years old, you're old. It's time to hang it up. And I'm
35?
the football players, Here he is here.
Yeah, they had the baseball league in Dixon was named after him. That's why I included those. And then the next one is he is buried in Dixon.
Wow. That's awesome.
There's a marker on the Dixon courthouse that I put up, me and a couple friends put up to honor him and his baseball career. It's on the courthouse right in Dixon.
I'll have to check it out.
I guess I didn't put a picture in
Gus
there.
Williams.
Yeah, here's the guy I wanted to tell you about because I really don't think that a lot of people from Sterling know about this guy. He played for the St. Louis Browns for what, 5 years or something like that?
The St. Louis Browns or Cardinals?
That was the Browns. That's the American League.
Wow.
They had, the Cardinals didn't come around until 40s,
Wow, really?
30s, 40s, something like that, 20s maybe. But no, at this time it was just the Browns. After he was done, he went to Palmer Chiropractic
Sure.
College, married a girl. They moved here to Sterling, started a chiropractic clinic or whatever. He retired before she did, but they ran it here in Sterling for quite a while, a chiropractic clinic.
Yeah.
But you know what this guy is known for, and this is just part of baseball. You might be known for a really great record, and you might be known because something not so exciting happened. He had the single season strikeout record. I don't remember what it was, but he struck out more in one season than anybody else in Major League.
That'd be me. Oh, shit. I dropped my beer. Garf, come over and lick the beer up.
Oh, goodness.
We're doing
That would
pretty
be
good.
me. Oh, that's what that is. Awesome.
Well, you know that strikeout that I told you about, that strikeout record? It was actually out as obituary. It's like, come on.
Gosh, add
Yeah.
insult to Anderson. And
Go
so-
back one. I'll show them that. This is like a felt piece. It's right here. I've got one. And they used to have these in packs of cigarettes.
Oh, wow.
And they were folded up, but then they could take them, or whoever would take them and make big quilts out of them.
And they would iron them and
Yeah,
get 'em
and
flat.
then sew them together to make big quilts. And this guy, he's buried right over here at this cemetery.
Cavalry Cemetery.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
go ahead.
Right there.
He has, you can't see it there, but it's like it's a Sterling Fire Department marker, so he must have had something to do with the fire department
Wow.
too.
I was 5 years old when he died.
Okay, next, Leroy Herman. Stewart is over on eastern Lee County.
Yep.
That's where he was born. He went on, he played for the Cubs and the Reds. Okay, this one I know that you know a little, next one.
Yes. Everybody ate at Stan Hack's one time in their life. I did.
They called him Smiling Stan Hack. He was a guy that had to be great to be around. And I, as a baseball historian and a Cubs fan from this area, I didn't realize until later that I didn't know he had that restaurant over in Grandy Tour.
Oh, really?
Nope, I didn't know it. I went to work for the Cubs in 2000, and we'll talk about this, but I started to do baseball history, and I started to talk to people and realized that he had that restaurant. I didn't know he died in 1979. That restaurant was there for 20 years.
Oh, I know. I went to there. We went there when we had either homecoming or prom. I remember going there.
Well, he was a 5-time All-Star. He was, in his era, the best third baseman of that entire era. Back when the Cubs were going to the World Series every year or two, and losing, obviously, but they were still getting there.
But look at that, how many baseball people stay with the same team for that long, from 1932 to 47.
He was a legend in Chicago, and he should have been. He still leads the...
Is he in the Hall of Fame?
No,
He's not in the Hall of Fame?
he is not, and I'll tell you why. And this is kind of my thoughts why. Because there aren't a lot of third basemen in the Hall of Fame. Last 10 years or so, there's been a few additions, right? People that,
Yep.
but for years, there just weren't, that wasn't a position that was well represented in the Hall of Fame. But he leads the Cubs in like singles, walks. There are a couple categories. He really, in his era, he was the premier third baseman. So up until about 10 years ago, he was still being considered for Hall of Fame vote, except for the fact that they were also voting for another third baseman from Chicago, Ron Santo.
Oh.
And it kind of took the thunder away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I could,
I can't believe he's not in the Hall of Fame. I mean,
well, even Bill James, he's the premier statistician that you hear about. He says that Stan Hack had mentioned that of all the players, that was the one, or a couple, he named like 8 that said absolutely no doubt should be in the Hall of Fame. But it's just there.
politics.
Yeah, you're right.
Stanley Hack.
1932 there.
Oh.
Here's like, this is a menu from his restaurant that I got. And then like a placemat from his restaurant too, the Landmark.
I remember the placemats having this thing. Everybody, we all. When
My
we were
Uncle Larry went there, but I'd never really, he told me about it. That's Mike Veneer.
I know it is.
He does, he had asked if he could borrow one of my, that's a 45 jersey, a Cubs jersey, but he's buried in Grandy Tour, and people still, the fans still leave mementos right there. at the cemetery. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
So stop here for a second because I want to tell you another quick story. I got to know the Hack family a little bit, and he had Stan, his son Stan Jr. filled me in on a couple stories, and it was in 1955 he was the manager of the Cubs.
Okay.
Well, back in the 70s, do you remember the Saturday afternoon game, the game of the week?
No, I never watched much baseball.
Well, they had a game of the week, and it was a big deal, all over. Well, they were showing a Cubs game, and Stan Jr. was watching it with Stan Sr. And they flashed back to 1955 when Stan was the manager of the Cubs. And they were sitting there, and Stan told me he was kind of excited because his dad didn't talk much about baseball. What they were flashing back to is 1955, this guy named Sam Jones was pitching a no-hitter going into the 9th inning. And he walked 3 batters in a row in the 9th inning. And finally, Stan Sr., he had to go out. And he had to say something. Normally, guys pitching a no-hitter, you want to stay the hell away from him, right? You don't want to jinx him, right? Well, he went out there. On this flashback, they showed, well, Stan Hack comes out to encourage his player, encourage his pitcher. And Stan Sr. told Stan Jr., he said, I went out there, I told him if he didn't start pitching strikes, his ass was going to be sitting on the bench. What happened is that Sam Jones ended up striking out the next 3 batters. One of them was Roberto Clemente.
Oh, geez.
So
that's cool.
So that was that. This guy, Nelson Potter from Mount Morris, the thing that I can tell you about him, he pitched, or he was the first guy suspended for ever throwing a spitball.
Oh wow, Scott Vreel said, I used to live in Grandy Tour and knew his grandson when I was a kid.
There was Dave Hack and Stan. And I know Dave owned that, and Dave Hack owned the Friendly Confines in Dixon.
Huh.
That's where I had to go pick Greg up there a few times.
Could you imagine that?
Well, so Nelson Potter, he was a great pitcher. He pitched in a couple World Series. That's the St. Louis Browns, the Boston National League team later. He worked at Cable News in the off season.
Oh my God.
How about that? Okay, go ahead.
Morris. That's funny.
He came home and he was holding out, I think, or something. He wasn't getting along with everybody in the league, and came back and they took a picture of him playing with us kids in the yard. Let's keep going here. Now this is his son that had to listen to him on the radio, and he looks pissed, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Well, that's because they made him go back from Boston to Mount Morris, and he was mad. My dad's pitching in Boston, but he got to listen to it on the radio. I talked to him about that. I called him. He lives out in Nebraska. Okay.
That's
with the Boston Braves.
Wow.
And there he's buried in Mount Morris. Louis Bevilacqua's from Dixon.
No, I got some history with Louis. I mean,
Good.
not Louis, but with the Bevilacqua family.
I wondered if you knew anything about.
Oh yeah,
them.
he looks just like it. Well, I tell you, not this picture. When we go to the one, I'll tell you who he looks.
Go
like.
ahead then.
There is a little bit. And what's the W?
Washington Senators.
Okay, Washington Senators.
He was 20 years old and he pitched for the Washington Senators. The next year he got drafted. So then by the time that he got back from his service in World War II, he never made it back to the major leagues. He was such a popular minor league baseball player in Florida, the fans chipped in and bought him a car. I mean, I wonder, and this guy's a hero to me. He took a break in service and he never really came back and probably realized his potential, right?
That's too bad.
That's him.
This is the one. That picture of him looks just like, and it's got to be his brother, Tony Bevilacqua. That looks exactly like Tony Bevilacqua. That used to have all the restaurants around here.
That's what I heard in Rock Falls, or there
Yeah,
were a
Rock
couple
Falls.
of them?
Oh, he had the Holiday Inn down here. He had Steakhouse West. He had the truck stop over in Route 30.
Yeah,
My
Louis.
grandma worked for him. He looks just like Tony in that uniform.
Yeah, he must have been cool. He sounds like, just from talking to the family, he wouldn't be sitting in with the family during he'd be out playing baseball with the kids, football with the kids. Go ahead, one or a couple here. That's him, Walter Knack, that arrow up on top.
Yeah.
That's in Dixon, right? Okay, and he's buried in Dixon.
Wow. That name, everybody knows Tony. Around here, I know Tony more than Louis, but Tony was really big on restaurants.
I loved getting to know the family there just because of his military service. He had served in World War II and took that break in service. I think the 17th Armored Division. He was a tank commander. He served in Austria, Germany, France. And then he came back here and he tried to, rekindle that baseball career, and it just never came back around.
That's too bad.
Well, this guy here, Cal Howe, he lived out Rock Falls. If you go south on, what'd you say, 40?
Yep.
Down to 88.
Yep.
And when they built 88,
Well, 88 and 40 were the same. It was
but
well, you're talking about interstate.
where they interstate 88, where they intersect, that took out the farm. It was the Howe farm. There were 9 Howe brothers,
and I bet Bill was one of them. I bet you.
Probably. I think you said something. There were enough brothers that they used to actually charge admission. They would have traveling teams come in to play the Howe brothers, and it was pretty spectacular out there. This guy went on to play with the Cubs, and when I was in Iraq, I sent him a letter and said, hey, when I get back, can I chat with you? And he sent back a letter, and absolutely, he had passed away. So I talked to the brother and all that, but he got to pinch hit, or where am I at here? Oh, I'll come back to that. In Rock Falls history, the Howe family was very well known for baseball.
Well, I think there's Gary.
Plenty of those Howe brothers also had breaks in service for World War II.
Sure.
Now this is Gary. Did you know, or?
Yeah. I don't know.
Now this guy, one of the most interesting things that he did is back when there were no conferences in high school, right?
Yeah.
He played basketball for Rock Falls, took them to the state championship 1958.
Wow.
And they didn't have conferences back then, so it was everybody played against, all the bigger schools or the private schools or whatever. He went on, he was a halfback for the University of Illinois, went on and played Major League Baseball.
Wow.
He was another great athlete from this area. That's Stephen Eddy. He was born here in Sterling.
See, I never that.
Well, I don't know how long he lived here.
He'd be 2 years younger or older than me.
I'm not sure how many years he lived here, but he played Major League Baseball. The 79 for the Angels, that was Rod Carew, Nolan Ryan. That was a great team. But he ended up going on graduating from Yale, and now he lives in Phoenix or right around there somewhere.
Well,
that's Don Schulze. He lives in Dixon.
really?
He was a first-round draft pick in, I think, 1980 or so. He was part of the trade that brought Rick Sutcliffe to the Cubs in '84. Okay. He played 3 years in Japan. He's still a coach. He coaches for the Giants.
Wow.
But he's a resident of Dixon.
Wow.
And Danny Kolb, also from Sterling. The greatest year of his career in 2004, he was so good. He was the closer in the All-Star game for the National League with the Brewers.
Wow.
They knew if they got him into the game that they had it won. And he ended up going on to Atlanta, a couple other teams, but he lived most of his life in Walnut, went to Sauk Valley College.
Sure, and I'm almost sure that's his dad that I worked with at National, Dan.
Yes, and Dan was Gary's brother.
Yep.
Okay, let's go ahead and
there he is.
Okay. Now this guy, how do you pronounce that last name?
Poltinowitz?
Flotinowitz?
Okay, I'll go with it because I don't have any clue.
Poltinowitz?
I haven't. This is a topic, this whole baseball history thing for this area, that I prepared this presentation about 10 years ago. So I'm a little bit behind, quite a bit behind. But this guy I don't know much about, but He was born in Sterling. He had a really spectacular 2018. He was 13-10 for the Braves, and they went to the playoffs. They were really good.
Wow.
Now, before you go on, I got to tell you, I sent you this presentation, Lisa.
Yeah.
And I forgot one person. Maybe you know about him. His name's Jacob Junas.
Yes.
Okay.
From Rock Falls.
Okay, I forgot him in here, but he's played now for quite a few years, for about 5 years with the Royals, with some very good teams.
Yep.
And now is with the Giants. That's about as much as I can tell you there.
I was wondering why he wasn't in here. And what are these? What's this? This is interesting.
Back in you remember the movie A League of Their Own?
Yeah.
The Rockford Peaches?
Yes.
There was a league during World War II that was all females. It was the American Association of Girls Professional Baseball League. And we have had 3 players from this area that played in that league. Noreen Arnold from Oregon, Betty Degner from Amboy, and Betty Jean McFadden from Savannah. And the other 2 had passed away, so I didn't have a chance to reach out to them, but Betty Jean McFadden, I did talk to her. She was from Savannah. She went the very first year of 1943, when they had tryouts. She went from Savannah to Wrigley Field. That's where they had the tryouts.
Yeah.
It was raining that day, so they had to try out on the concourse underneath, Well, she made it as a pitcher, and they shipped her to Indiana. She wanted to go play for the Peaches, but they shipped her to Indiana. And she was wonderful. I got to talk to her, and
That's awesome.
And then next. Okay, a few more. Go ahead, please.
Sure.
Now, do you remember the speech, Lou Gehrig?
Yep.
Today, hey, I consider myself.
One of the luckiest
man. Now, that was when Lou Gehrig, when he was diagnosed with the disease that
Right.
they ended up
Naming
it after him.
Right.
See that MC right there?
Yeah.
His name was Sid Mercer. He went to Dixon College in Dixon.
Wow.
Wow.
He was the master of ceremonies that day. He was most well known as a sports writer. And you can imagine back then, when you learned most of your information about some of your favorite team, baseball players and everything, that the sports writers were very important. And he was one of the most important ones at the time.
Oh, wow.
But he went to Dixon College.
Wow. Awesome.
That's him. Yeah. All right, Ronald Reagan.
Oh yeah.
Now, this guy too, he says, I want to be a broadcaster. So he just started going around to the radio stations, Chicago, and they turned him down. He was getting pretty frustrated. So he went to Davenport, got turned down there, was pretty frustrated. So he went to this WHO in Des Moines, and they turned him down again. And he's like, it sounded like he said, under his breath, or maybe not so much after he left, he said, how in the hell is somebody supposed to get some practice broadcasting if you won't hire a guy? And they says, well, can you do football? Back then, the interesting thing is that they did it off a ticker tape. So the broadcaster was over in Des Moines, and there would be just a really brief, this player hit a triple. There would be no description. It wouldn't tell you where in the field or anything. So Ronald got so good at describing the baseball games off of a ticker tape, right? That's how he really got his in to people realize that this guy has some talent.
I'll be darned.
Right? So he was a Chicago
So he's
Cubs
kind of
broadcaster.
acting almost.
Absolutely.
When you're reading, you're making people make the feeling of it.
He's out in Des Moines, right? Or Des Moines.
Yep.
And the game's going on in Wrigley Field, and there's a ticker tape going across. And he's having to make up, the crowd's really lively and into it, and all that stuff. And it all sounded great. But then the story that he told well after he was even a president was one time, this guy named Billy Jurgis, it was a bottom of the ninth, Cards against the Cubs, and this guy named Billy Jurgis was up. It was 0-0. And the ticker tape went out. So he had to make up like the play. So Billy Jurgis fouled off pitches for 7 minutes. It came back. The ticker came back up, and he couldn't give in that he was just making it all up. Well, the ticker came up, and Jurgis had popped out on the first pitch. So for 7 minutes, he was making up a
another
fantasy
foul
game.
ball.
Exactly. Oh, missed a home run by a foot. But that's how.
That's funny as hell.
Okay. And that he was also, he portrayed Grover Cleveland Alexander in The Winning Team was the name of that movie. That
Doris Day was in it? Oh, wow.
She was his wife that was in that movie.
Wow.
Did you know Larry Young at all? He's from Oregon, and he was an umpire in Dixon.
Wow.
He got his start at Reynolds Field, Borden's Field, all that. Well, he was an umpire at the time when I was doing this research, and I sent him a letter, and he surprised me one day. He called me, like, "Hey, Mark, it's Larry Young." It's like, oh my goodness, he was still an umpire at the time. He was actually the supervisor, I think, for a while.
Major League umpire supervisor.
He called me from spring training one time and caught me off guard, you know, but I had a bunch of questions for him. But I had asked him about some of the things that he was most excited about that he got to do. And he was 2 All-Star games, 2 World Series, but in 1996, he was the home plate umpire for the World Series at Yankee Stadium. But the thing that I loved him the most for was at WrestleMania 11 in 1995. He was the guest referee for Bam Bam Bigelow versus The Undertaker. That's why I love it.
There you go.
He was involved in like Special Olympics around here and was a really great guy. Okay, there's just a couple more now. Lisa, we good?
Oh yeah.
Okay, nobody's
Nope,
cutting
you're
out.
just fine.
Renee's asleep. The kids are ready for bed.
I feel like when I start talking so fast when I,
Well, that's all
so
right.
let me slow down. for a second.
EE. What's EE stand for?
I don't know. But this guy, this guy's a hero to me because I feel kind of, his story resonates with me a little bit. And we're going to come back and tell a couple stupid stories, right? I told you we'd do that.
Right.
About my baseball career. But this guy, he made it. He got to the major leagues. That one year, 1910, Pittsburgh, it was the Pirates. Honus Wagner was on that team. They were in a pennant chase at the end of that season. He was from Linden. He ended up owning a hardware store over here in Morrison. He got called up. He put on that uniform. He went out there with the team every day. He didn't get called up for the rest of the season. And they got out of playoff contention, never made it back to the major leagues.
Wow.
He suited up. He went out there. He was with the team. He wanted to get in the game, never did.
Wow.
And because of that, really in baseball history, it's just kind of an afterthought.
Huh.
But what an amazing story that this guy had. So I included him.
Died same year as my dad did.
Yeah. Well, I included him just because his story was so amazing.
Well, he was there. He suited
Oh,
up.
you bet. Now this guy, Bud Fowler, is the first African American professional baseball player, and this year he is being inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. His tie, and the reason I put him in here, because he was a minor league player, very popular, and did a lot of traveling around for a time when he took a lot of crap too for playing with these teams. But the fans loved him. He played here in Sterling in 1890 for a year, the Sterling Bluecoats.
Oh my God.
He was also great in theater, and he was involved in the theater somehow around here too.
Wow.
But he was a fan favorite, and now this year he'll be in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Wow. There it is. Oh. All right.
That was really cool.
What did you do for the Cubs?
I worked in a security guard.
Okay.
See, when I was right in the year 2000, I was a college graduate. Things weren't going all that great, around here, so I wanted to branch out. I'd never really been to Chicago downtown. I'd been to Cubs games, all that stuff. But I just, a friend offered to help me out, and I went down to the Board of Trade. I walked around, asked the guys out on smoke breaks if I could have a job, and I ended up finding somebody. So I got a job at the Board of Trade. I was like, what do I want to do next? Well, I walked up to Wrigley Field and I started talking to some of the people that worked up there. And I found a security guard. He was an ex-Army guy. And he gave me a job in security, working for the Cubs. So for that year, it was a great job. I was around the game. When you showed up for the games, you'd get an assignment. It would say something like, right field bleachers or something. The bleachers sucked. It sucked working the bleachers because the drunks,
Yeah.
The delay is kicking in. They're complimenting you, Mark. Sue Brown said, great history research. Vicki Horton said, this has been very interesting. Deborah Stevens, so interesting. Stewart Corsa, pretty neat, Mark.
You prick, Stewart. You never say that to me. Go ahead, Mark.
No, he said you were struck out. 3 strikes and you're out earlier on when you were all over the board with the slides.
He's been heckling you the whole time.
Stewart needs to go to the home.
Oh my God.
Well, to all those people that just said that, thank you, because I think that they're probably just as big a baseball fans as I am. And when I started to find this stuff out, but are we back on?
Yeah.
I worked for the Cubs, and the thing that happened, the dumbest thing, one of the dumbest things that ever happened to me in my life happened during a game. And okay, so it's Dodgers Cubs at Wrigley, and I have an assignment to just walk around a couple sections behind the Dodgers bullpen, right?
Yep.
And that's all you do all day. You walk around and deal with people just trying to see how much they can get away with, right?
Right.
And so towards the end of the game, and I was really broke back then, so at the end of the game, I was really broke back then.
Does that mean you didn't have any money, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what that meant.
Okay. Okay. All right. We just want to clarify that.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I'm back on now.
Okay.
And so I'd go to the top of the stands to see if they had any hot dogs left, right?
Yeah.
Well, I went to the top of the stands. It was getting towards the end of the game, and the people that normally would give me hot dogs, they didn't have any. So I kept walking like further away from where I'm supposed to be, and I'm getting kind of nervous. But everything seemed to be kind of under control. But I got really far away from where I'm supposed to be, and all of a sudden I heard just the crowd roar, and I turned around, and the entire Dodger team had run down to the Dodgers bullpen. And I was nowhere near where I was supposed to be because I was trying to get a hot dog, right? I had paid for a hot dog and I never got it. I was standing there waiting for my hot dog and I took off. I never got that hot dog. So I went running down there, ran across the field. And at that time, do you remember Monica Seles got stabbed? She was a tennis player that got stabbed in the back. She was just sitting against I guess that's what I was thinking was going on. So I jumped up into the stands. Right when I got there, beer started flying. It was just ridiculous. I had no idea what was going on, but I knew that I was not where I was supposed to be, right? Well, what ended up happening was a player had taken the cap off of Chad Kruger, a Dodgers player. Yeah. And the Dodgers went after this guy, and it ended up being a brawl in the stands, and that was my section that night. I had a friend who worked at Fox, I had a friend who had a friend who worked at Fox Sports, and he got me this VHS copy of that fight. And to this day, you look on my piece of art project YouTube site, that's the only place you can see it. And you'll see me coming up, right at way late, jumping up into the crowd. I do feel like a really lucky Cub fan because I've been able to experience so many interesting things. But when I went to Iraq, there was one thing, it just seemed natural being a fan, and at the time the Cubs were pretty good. I was like, okay, is this gonna happen? Because it was torture forever. Being a Cub fan was torture. honestly, all those Cub fans out there, they know what I'm talking about. It was torture. We really didn't know, and here I was going on a patrol, could die anytime, and I'm thinking, okay, I took that and turned it around so that I could try to like really be take something that guys were excited about, which was baseball. And I made a W flag, I sewed it, and this is it right here. You know the W flag on the at Wrigley?
Yeah.
Well, what they do is they have a W, they fly a W flag after the games, and they've been doing it since I think the 30s or 40s at Wrigley. So the people that were driving by on the train could see if the Cubs won or not. Well, I made this one. That's this.
Get down on a different. I'll put it on a different camera.
Okay. I made this one so that the guys coming off of patrol would know if the Cubs won or not. Well, it was so much fun because I ended up, the Cubs found out about it, right? And I did their color guards for the next 6 or 7 years at Wrigley Field when I came back from Wrigley. But one of the things that they did for me, hey Renee, can you help me with this one? So one time I came home and they had sent me a real W flag, like one of the actual W flags that flew on the scoreboard at Wrigley Field. Really? It's right here.
Man, that thing's huge.
Yep, this one, actually, let's turn it around so that, turn it around. Go that. This W flag flew at Wrigley Field, and they sent it to me. Do you see that little authentication sticker?
Yeah.
I had it hanging in my house for a little while. And then I thought, well, one day I want to look up and see when this flag flew, like exact day.
Yeah.
I looked it up. This is the W flag that flew after their 10,000th win.
Wow.
They were on the road. This is the only W flag that ever flew after a road win.
Wow.
I mean, a piece of history that they gave to me.
Wow, that's really nice that they did that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. And that's why there are lots of reasons why I was treated so well by the team. And David Kaplan, he does the post game for the Cubs. He married a girl from Dixon who I knew, and he found out about it, and they treated me so well. Another time, I had this little teeny dollar store radio when we were out on patrol, and in the middle of the night, sometimes I could get baseball games, which meant the world, that I could just, kind of tune in and tune out, tune in to tune out, I guess. And I was excited because there was a White Sox game. I was like, oh, good, I can listen to the White Sox. They were under a rain delay, so they switched to the Cubs. I was even more excited. All of a sudden, Ron Santo started talking about me. And I'm sitting in a turret up in Iraq with this little teeny radio, and wasn't even supposed to be listening to this game, and he starts talking about me.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I was really super lucky. I told you I did their color guards for about 6 years or so. I took over 100 different guys up there so that we could do their color. You present the American flag up there. And one time I took the fire departments from Dixon, because I was a volunteer at the time. And on 9/11 we had a police, fire. It was really nice.
Yeah.
And so we were up there at Wrigley and got to do the color guards. Well, after a while, they're just like, okay, put your stuff in the closet and then just go do your thing and then come back. So we'd put our stuff our flags and everything in the closet, and then we'd just go mess around. It was great because we could go a lot of different places. And then we came back. We're down in the tunnel getting ready, and we're all standing there. And there's this the firefighter from Dixon. His name's Mark Callison. Real fun guy. But he's like, okay, everybody stand back, because I want to make sure that we look good before we get out of the field. So we're all standing there, and he's like, what is that? There was a mouse trap on the American flag. we were getting ready to walk out on the field, and there was a mouse trap on the American flag.
Oh.
When they won the World Series, I decided that I wanted to be up there no matter what. It's a thing that in my life I wanted to
Sure.
be near there. I started answering Craigslist ads. I had taken time off of work. I just felt it in my heart. I was like, this is the year. If there was anything, I'm gonna invest on it.
Right. And all the time you put in and stuff you did. I mean, why wouldn't you go?
Well, I took that purple van down there at Wrigley Field, answered Craigslist ads for parking spots. And so right behind Murphy's, there was a parking spot that I answered an ad for on Craigslist. And I took that purple van there and I parked. I'm like, this is a stupid idea. Meeting somebody in the alley and giving them money to park in a spot. And I really was hoping that they'd let me stay there for a little while, because the playoffs were going on and everything. So I'm sitting there in my van and I'm like, God, the guy's coming up here. Am I gonna get mugged or whatever? He came up and we started talking and he saw a Grateful Dead sticker on my van and he's like, I don't want any money from you. I stayed there for 3 weeks in that parking spot. Not only that, he let me go up to his rooftop.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and he's still a friend of mine. Dear, just great things happen to great people.
Yeah.
And
It's
this
all
guy's,
about meeting the people, like I said at the beginning of this.
yeah. I feel like a lucky baseball fan and a Cubs fan, and baseball's been in my heart since I was little. And I knew that you had mentioned since baseball's coming up, let's do a baseball talk.
Yep.
This is thank you.
This
Thanks.
is great.
It's
Thanks.
really interesting to learn about these people that I had no ideas and some of the little stories behind
Yeah,
everybody's
the
name.
stories.
Sure.
Fascinating.
And the Bevilacqua, I didn't know Tony. That's got to be his brother, because that picture of him in his military, that looks exactly like Tony. The Tony that I remember anyway. It was great. This was fun.
It was fun.
Should we probably wrap it up?
We can. Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Can I have just one more
Oh, yeah.
moment?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, Mark.
This is a kind of just switching topics a little bit back to my piece of art project.
Yes.
And I've been doing this for a couple of years, and you guys have really helped out with this. And it's been interesting, kind of a learning, just trying to get peace out in our community. And I don't know what a guy like me is going to do, just trying to promote peace. I mean, hell, I'm grumpier than hell. I mean, really, I feel so inappropriate to be out putting peace signs out.
I drop F-bombs every other word, so don't.
Yeah, but the people promoting peace, they should be out really just trying to, and I feel just grumpy,
It's called being human.
I guess.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But everybody's been so supportive of this project, and you especially, and you had given me some frames, and one of the things that you had given me some of the smaller frames.
Yep.
And I made 10 smaller peace signs. Can I just for exclusive Distinctive Gardens product, I'd like to offer those out. And I've made plenty of peace signs, not made money on them. That's not ever gonna be important to me, because then I feel like a phony.
Right. Sure. That's just like the way garden stock was too. And you know what's funny, Mark, is that people will probably have the perception of like, wow, he's making pretty good money on them. First of all, they don't know the time and the effort and all the stuff it takes to go into it. And the same thing, just this last month, some of the people that I've run across about garden stock said, wow, you guys made pretty good money on that. And they still don't understand where that money went. They brought me
Jennifer Bachner loves her peace sign.
Thank you.
They brought me the sign from the garden where that we supported the gardening program. We've got it at the shop now because the gardening program is no longer functional and that. But we got the sign with me giving the peace sign on there and stuff like that. So we've got the memories and stuff like that. But no, the peace sign thing.
Melissa Hartzell loves her peace sign.
Yep.
Vicky
Yeah.
Horton wants a small peace sign.
Okay.
You can get it through DG.
Yeah, it'll be
we're having them online.
before the end of the weekend.
Yep.
That's on my honey-do list.
Lisa got the pictures and stuff, and we're going to put them online. The other thing that probably, and I talked to you about, and I think I'm going to do it, I probably won't do it for May, but I'll probably do it. I'll get a hold of you in about June or July, but the pop-up market in Sterling, I think I'm going to do that, Mark, and I want you to come down with me, and we can have the booth together, and you can have your peace signs
John Sacchetti wants a peace sign too.
up and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, every once in a while I'll just make as many as I can because I still work, you know, and I keep these things.
Really, you do? Oh, wow,
Yeah.
really? You got to have a job, really?
Yeah, but I do like making these things. It reminds me of my grandma sitting down and quilting because each one takes me quite a while. I make them and zip tie every bulb. I've designed these things with my heart.
Right. Well,
Really.
I tell you what, when I came over, and I can't remember when it was,
Marianne loves
you
hers.
didn't, your house was peace signs because the whole living room and all the kids, Renee, everybody was making peace signs. I think it was for the Christmas walk.
Yeah.
Right around the Christmas walk. I told Lisa, I went there, hell, everybody was doing something with the peace signs. And I said, there was peace signs in every room of the house that I could see. So I said the whole house was, so the other good thing about that, doing something like that, is you're doing it with your family. That's the
Yeah.
other really cool thing.
I couldn't do it without them.
No, and the girls get to
Yeah.
be involved and see what it's all about and what
Lee-
that symbol.
Leah and Nora are back there helping with our broadcast.
Yep.
Thank you.
They're
And
my
we've got our
technical
peace sign up
crew.
there on there. Of course, it's nice
Yeah.
green and gold Packer colors.
But it feels like maybe sometimes I'm not the right guy to be doing this. But then again, I kind of feel like I am. It's hard to explain because I'm not out to be making money.
Sure.
Absolutely not. If as crazy as things can be, and I don't know how to express myself, I can just stand out there with a peace sign. And if you ever see me doing that, I'm having a nervous breakdown, and it's totally fine. It's happened a few times, and it all turns around just fine. I've never. The money's not been important to me. These big peace signs, I see what it does to people,
Sure.
and it gives those people encouragement.
Well,
That
seeing them
gives
all
me
over the place, just
encouragement.
driving
Oh yeah,
to work,
you
and
can
there's
see them
just
everywhere.
so many
I
of
mean,
them.
there's
It's so
more and more. I mean, it's everywhere. But
connective.
you're saying that you're not the person to do that. It reminded me of a billboard, and I talked about this when we used to have Christmas and we go to my aunt's house. We all had to talk, and I talked about this billboard. And we were on vacation, and I saw the billboard. And it had two words on it: heaven or hell. That's all it said. And I thought, like, wow. Heaven or hell, and I thought, like, where am I going to go? So my whole talk was on, I might not be the best person, I try to be the best person in that, and everybody does stupid stuff and things that they regret in their life, through their life and stuff like that. Maybe you're grumpy even though you're selling peace signs. But you know what? I even said, the Pope, you can talk to the Pope. I don't give a shit how holy he is. He's done some shit that he regrets.
Jennifer and Melissa.
So are
said
you
that
gonna go to heaven
are
or
the
hell?
guy to be doing this project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that I've had a lot of support, and that's what's really done it for me, because I feel like a hypocrite, but I can tell what it does to people, and like I said, it's never been about the money. I'm pretty close to the point where this whole project's going to be supporting itself with these smaller peace signs, right?
Sure.
It's just something I've been working up to. I want to keep them affordable
Sure.
because it makes me happy, and I know that it makes everybody else happy. We don't understand what in the hell is wrong with this world right now.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Becca Detman said, "Thank you, Mark. I love my peace sign."
All of those
Yeah,
people.
all those people, and I'll show you the one over in the garage there that we gave our neighbors, and they light it up every night.
Well, thanks for giving. That's all I wanted to say that, just because I feel like I've never been more sure that I'm out of my mind, but I also know that enough people keep encouraging me to do this that I'm going to keep doing it.
Sure.
And I'll be that guy. I'll be that guy that's going to do it at whatever expense, I guess. If it's me, and this is where I'm at. I saw in other countries how people live in war-torn countries, and I cannot understand why we can't get along here.
Right, that's what I always said. If
Yeah.
everybody could get along, this place would be a lot better. There's more love than hate.
Well, but then that's where I don't feel like I'm the most cheery. There needs to be somebody like really cheery, just
Wavy
always
gravy.
Wavy gravy needs to be doing this.
There you go.
But thank you for everybody out there that's helped me with this project. It means the world to me. And those people around me, my wife, I had been discouraged a few times just because I think people had told me, you're just making a lot of money, aren't you? No, absolutely not.
I didn't realize.
But I'd gotten discouraged. My wife, Renee, my friend Lowell, who has helped me to create a smaller version of the bigger ones, the big, huge ones that I really...
Went around and picked up the frames that one time.
Now
remember?
that was 4 or 5 years ago,
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
I
good.
collected a ton of frames. And I'd like to get that spirit back for this Christmas. And I made 25 that year. You helped me?
Yeah.
We
made
25.
the one downtown, and they still have it. And I asked Brad about it, the city of Sterling. I go, why don't you guys put that up to where it can be up all the time? I don't know. They've got it in storage. The one that they put downtown at Dale Park, I'm trying to get them to bring it out and put it somewhere and keep it there.
We'll put new lights on it if they want to do that.
Well, I'll ask Brad to get it out and see how it works and that, because they've had it in storage.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be okay.
Well, a lot of things have happened since then.
Sure.
It's been real hard for us all to get together.
Sure.
And a lot of times.
Sure.
But I made some smaller ones, and this is an exclusive to Distinctive Gardens. For a gracious thank you to anybody who promotes peace, and Garden Stock was that for me. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Bud.
Thank you, Mark.
It inspired me, and I just hope that we can keep this whole thing going.
Yeah.
And just stay tuned for that. It's a smaller version of what I make, the big ones. And I talked to Lisa too, and there will be a video. My friend Josh is going to help me, and Lisa has offered too. I want to make a video of how you make a big one out of a trampoline frame, right?
Yep.
And then people all over the world with minimal supplies, hopefully, go to it, man. That's what we
Recycle that
need to
trampoline
see.
frame instead of
And,
scrapping it.
and they can be everywhere.
Sure.
So thank you for the inspiration. Also, thank you to anybody out there who has really kept that encouragement going.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yep,
take a
we
look at
appreciate
the replies. There's all sorts of good ones. Linda Sue Brown said you hit a home run. There's
Oh,
all
that's
sorts of
appropriate for
peace
the
signs,
baby. Yeah.
of love.
And Stewart, hi Stewart, I miss you. I was
I
thinking
know.
about you.
I don't. The pain in the ass.
I miss you most of the time,
Yeah, most of the time.
but thank you so much. Thank you to my family. I feel like I'm in the Academy Awards or something.
Just don't slap me.
Well, are you ready to
Yep,
sign off?
yep, we're ready to sign
Okay.
off because I got to piss.
Some of our regulars are.
Gotta
Okay,
pee.
they're starting to sign off.
Sorry,
We're
you
getting
guys.
all sorts of peace signs.
All right, you guys. Oh, wait a minute.
I think
Wait a
John's
minute.
way early up.
Thank you for tuning in. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
You
Have a
might
great
see Mark
weekend.
here with some music.
All right.
That was an hour and a half. That wasn't terrible.
No, not at all.
All right.
That's so hard, man. Just to feel like you're just spewing.
Thanks, you guys.
Well, I know you